There's Dean here, talking some NBA DFS, 2 hours nonstop conversation, taking y'all straight up to lock and beyond as well. What's up, RotoGrinders out there? Myself and Stevie, apologies. We're a few minutes late. I'm taking the L. This is all on me. Having all sorts of difficulties with my trying to figure out my earbud, my earpiece, and then I was hearing some smooth jazz for a while. I couldn't. I have a case of the Mondays. Is what's going on, and I believe I did a poor job making this a comfortable situation for Stevie because I believe, and certainly this isn't Stevie's first Grinders Live appearance, but I think Stevie, confirm or deny, is this your first basketball show with me all season long? I feel like this is the first time we're talking basketball.
No, I mean pre-Christmas we did some shows. I haven't done a lot of Grinders Live this year. I'm super busy, but yeah, I mean it's been a while, but yeah, like 2 Grinders, like Crunch Time and Grinders Live, like what the heck?
Oh, you have a several coming up in this week or this month? Well, obviously you do the first look with your podcast. You're busy with NASCAR. You have all sorts of things going on. I saw you on Twitter talking about golf. I didn't know you're a golf guy, but you're a frolf guy, the old Frisbee golf. Yeah, you have a lot going on in the world, Stevie. So, it's nice to have you on. Welcome to Grinders Live.
My only question is, how long have you been doing Grinders Live?
Maybe dude, 9 years, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while.
And
I haven't
figured it out. So,
to be fair, we haven't been using the same streaming system for all 9 years, right? So I'm always adjusting on the fly. This weekend, I did Sirius. I was on Sirius Sunday and Saturday. So, I'm trying to be versatile. I'm trying to jump from apparatus to apparatus. And, once you learn one tool, I'm making excuses, but that's not an excuse. And I'm plugging the Sirius show. Check us out on Sirius this weekend. Upcoming as well. I believe 3 to 5 on Saturdays and 6 to 8 on Sundays is probably the standard times. Yeah, join us. It's a fun conversation. Talk a little DFS, sweat the games, good stuff like that. In-game live betting, Sirius XM, Fantasy Sports Radio. What channel is it? I should know that off the top of my head, but either you know or you don't. But yeah, feel free to check us out. Stevie, we have a 6-gamer tonight. We have a lot of body parts up in the air as well. Some questionable ones that distinctly would matter. James Wiseman of Detroit. Detroit always a disaster. Alec Burks expected to be back tonight. A lot of their pieces. We have Killian Hayes has got a hand. He's questionable. Wiseman's got that knee, so he's questionable. The big boys, Beef Stew, Stewart, and Duran are both out. Bojan Bogdanovic also out. I don't know why I started with Detroit. News dropping in the middle of the day as far as Miles Turner, the abdominer. He's questionable with the back, and of course, teammate Tyrese Halliburton has a calf. So maybe it's TJ McConnell revenge season. We'll see if that happens. Boston Celtics played double overtime last night. Producer Steve's New York Knicks dropped an L on him. Emmanuel quickly went out of his mind. Had an amazing game. Hopefully you guys late pivoted to him last night because he was just key to winning last night's slate. So Boston played too many minutes. Therefore, Jason Tatum, they gave him a knee. He's not playing basketball tonight. Of course, Horford, he would combust if he plays back-to-back games. So he did not play. Well, he's not playing this evening as well. No Time Lord. So Boston's pretty thin. Later on in the slate, deep into the night, De'Aaron Fox is questionable with his hamstring. I do believe he was at practice or shoot-around for what it's worth. And Donovan Mitchell's on the other side of that Boston game. He's got a finger, so he's questionable too. Yeah, lot to monitor, lot going down. Stevie, you want to give me the overview? We go game by game here. You know that. You've done this before. But before we do that, let's go around the horn and not around the horn. Let's give me your screenshot of this slate. What are we looking at? What's got your eye? What are we focusing on?
I mean, the Boston situation, tough matchup against Cleveland. One of the best defenses in the league, plays at one of the slowest pace. Obviously, Boston's going to project pretty well. I mean, there's 8 bodies that get minutes on a normal basis available for Boston tonight. So, I mean, that situation we're going to be paying attention to. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is a huge news. Halliburton and Turner getting that in-day downgrade is always like me leaning more towards him not playing than playing. So that game kind of potentially gets ugly if Halliburton and Turner ends up sitting. So maybe the 76ers not as good as they might be if Halliburton plays. So, I mean, kind of just paying attention to those situations. I think, most of everything else is pretty much on the table. Michael Porter Jr. getting the in-day downgrade for Denver, I assume that he's not going to play. So really, I mean, Fox is the big one. I think Fox, this game being like a 10 o'clock game, we have 3 7 o'clock games and then a 7:30 and then a 9 and a 10. So we might not get like the Fox news before the like 7:30 game locks. So we're going to, definitely be making some decisions on how we want to approach Fox.
You mentioned Boston, by the way, pretty wild. They played a double overtime game yesterday. They played an 8-man rotation in a double overtime game. And amongst the 8-man rotation, like Muscala played 12 minutes. Like they basically played, 7.5 guys. Hauser played 19 minutes. Tatum played over 48. That's why he's sitting. One reason why he's sitting today. Jaylen Brown, 47 minutes. It's really interesting, by the way. I know the matchup. We'll talk about it in a second. I know the matchup's bad versus Cleveland. I know Cleveland's a good defensive team. I know they play pretty slow, but lots of usage being delegated his way with the absence of Tatum. It's interesting to me that Jaylen Brown's not hitting optimals. I get why, I think, but it seems kind of odd. And it's an interesting conversation we'll have to have. Obviously, Boston looks pretty good, assuming this game can stay pretty close. And the total's not big again, but the slices look really, really appealing. Miles Turner, I believe Turner missed Embiid last time, so maybe he dodges them again. We'll see that back kind of flared up out of nowhere. He's playing against Joel Embiid on the other side. Maybe he wants no part of him. Who knows? In Indiana, just kind of playing out the string. Although, theoretically, they got a shot to, jump into play-in nonsense and potentially win a couple games and get walloped in the first round by, who would it be? Milwaukee? Is Milwaukee the one? I think Milwaukee's the one in the East. Anything else here, Stevie, as far as I see you talking in chat about cars, about NASCAR. The people know, right? They know where to go to get the NASCAR deal, right? They know what the package. Yes.
Yeah, we had one of the biggest weekends we've ever had this weekend. I think there was, I don't remember. There was multiple people that made at least 10 grand this weekend. So huge weekend in the premium stuff. I think we went plus 16 or 17 units in betting. So it was a race that I was on it, Dean. And those when those happen, we tend to see really good weeks. So it was really cool to have that. But yeah, we're talking. So Chase Elliott broke his leg snowboarding on Friday, and so that's what someone was asking me about it in chat. I was just answering that. So how
does that work? Do they have an emergency driver just step in? Does the whole team just shut down?
No, I mean, so they had someone fill in this weekend, but now it's how long is he going to be out? Is he going to get a waiver? What's going to happen with that car? So a lot of things flying around because, I mean, timetable wise, it's 3 to 6 months for a broken leg. It could be longer for him to be able to drive at full 100%. So be really interesting to see how it plays out this week. And if they think Chase is going to miss the season, I think there's a couple interesting options because they're going to want that car to run for points. So we'll see.
All right. Very first game on the slate we're going to talk about. Like you said, it is pretty interesting the way it's broken down with 6 games. Half the slate starts at lock. Half the slate tips off in air quotes at 7 o'clock. Then there's a 7:30 game, the rematch, Atlanta versus Miami, Toronto at Denver at 9 o'clock. And like you said, it's kind of sort of split the doubleheader format, 4 and 2. And I agree. I don't think we're going to get the Aaron Fox news. We'll see. I guess he's going to play. That was my lean, but we don't know. We do have if-then stuff as well as far as for premium members. We'll kind of mention that throughout. But the very first game we'll talk about is the aforementioned Boston Celtics at Cleveland. 218 is the total. This line, I was staring at it last night. This is the bummer, not living in a state where I can't legally sports wager. I was like, Cleveland, I think, was a 3 or 4 point favorite last night, or 2.5. I can't remember what the number was. And I was like, Boston's going to sit some dudes. Horford's going to sit. And you knew the Time Lord was going to sit. And they played, 48 minutes. They're probably going to sit another guy. And lo and behold, that line jumped, 4 points or so. Minuscule as far as the total, 218, right? Boston, 7-8 point dog here. But again, the body parts for Boston really opening stuff up. The lack of Tatum, lots of uses to go around. No Al Horford. Brogdon expected back. Going to be the 6th man du jour. I presume he's not going to draw the start. We're projecting the Moose, Mike Muscala, to draw the start. It might be. Maybe we'll see Blake Griffin draw the start. You never know. Grant Williams also playing the 4. You got to play big against Cleveland, obviously. Mobley and Allen, a couple big boys on the other side. Marcus Smart, White, Brown, Williams, Muscala are starters for Boston. As far as Cleveland fully healthy with the exception of, maybe Donovan Mitchell does not go. If he doesn't go, I haven't looked at an if-then, Stevie, but I assume it's Karis LeVert season for 4K, right? Is that just a super obvious play?
Yeah, I mean, if Mitchell doesn't go, I think you have to have Levert at the top of your list. Boston's going to be shorthanded, so they're not going to be as strong defensively as they would be with everyone playing. So I think that if Mitchell doesn't go, it's like a plug and play for Levert. He's too cheap for the role that he would have. I think Garland gets a huge bump tournament wise and probably cash game wise if Mitchell doesn't play as well. He's kind of pricier. And I mean, his projected ownership will definitely change if we get news that Mitchell doesn't play. So I think Garland, huge bump, and Levert, huge bump if Mitchell doesn't play. I do think Mitchell plays, though.
Yeah, I feel like he will too, and we'll know this obviously 7:00. If we don't know it, the Crunch Time crew is going to be able to talk about it. This news will come out before 7. By the way, I want to say hello to chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button kindly. We would appreciate that. Subscribe, turn on those notifications. It helps with the old algorithm. We got to defeat the old YouTube algorithm. Don Yeezy mentioning in chat, apparently there was a free Crunch Time for MMA on Saturday. I was not aware of that. He's saying the content was good, and I believe Mike Buddha, who gives content for MMA, took down 6 figures. So shout out to him. There you go. The John Jones, I saw he won. I don't know much about MMA, but there you go. Congratulations. Taking down, I think, the 100K, the big tournament there on DraftKings. We do have an if-then, right? Not surprisingly, it's the what if, I guess. If-then, it's officially called the what if. But if we happen to get Mitchell out, Karis LeVert would project for 34 minutes, 29 DK points, 28 Fanduel points, and a really, really strong positive play. Of course, Darius Garland, we get a boost as well. He would look really good. Allen looks solid. Rubio's kind of like a meh play. He's fine, but what's his upside? I don't know. I don't think we necessarily need a guy like Rubio today, maybe, unless you're running like 150 or something goofy like that. Boston. Talk about Jaylen Brown, because I'm going to do a refresh as far as the ownership, because I just feel like he's a little underappreciated considering the circumstances. I understand, again, the matchup stinks, but I will take extra volume, extra usage if it's I think it counterbalances out, whatever sort of like argument you can have against the matchup. 15% on a 6-gamer with no Tatum just seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit low. What do you think, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, Brown is a 35% usage guy with Tatum and Horford off floor this season, 1.35 fantasy points on FanDuel, 1.42 fantasy points per minute on DraftKings. So huge bump for him just in general. I mean, Brogdon is another guy that sees a 5% usage increase. Smart's a 5% usage increase. Derek White doesn't have as much sample as some of these other guys, but he's another guy that gets a nice little bump. So Tatum off the floor, everyone gets a bump. I mean, it's as simple as that. So I do like the spot for Brown. He's kind of pricey. It's a tough matchup against Cleveland. So I think that could potentially be why we're not seeing like a ton of ownership on him. But I do think that if that's the case, I mean, we have plenty of upside to take some shots on Brown. So I think right now, I think Brown's a great tournament play. I definitely think you could play him in all formats. He's on my main team right now. Obviously, it's 5:20, so a lot can happen here before lock. But yeah,
I don't even make a main team anymore. I don't do it. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I don't even like. I'm just gonna trash it anyway. But I sometimes I'll make a shell lineup, but typically I just, I feel like it's gonna change, and I guess it's good to get exercise in, right? But yeah, but he makes a lot of sense to be on a main lineup. But you're talking about like a single entry, 3-entry max kind of thing.
Yeah, so I play a lot of single entry for NBA. I don't have time to run a bunch of lineups anymore. Kids change time when it comes to NBA. So
understood.
That's why I don't do a lot of crunch times. People were asking me, they're like, "Oh, we loved you on crunch time the other day." Yeah, I don't do it because it's right during dinner time for the kids. So love hanging out with everyone for what it's worth, but yeah, it's tough. But my favorite play from Boston tonight is Blake Griffin. I really hope I hope he draws a start. Like you said, you already kind of said it, right? Cleveland plays big. They're going to need some size in this game. So Grant Williams played a gazillion minutes last night. So looking at who else is there, I mean, it's Blake Griffin, it's Cornette, it's Muscala. I mean, if Blake plays 20 to 25 minutes at his price across the industry, he crushes. So talked about him on Lineup HQ, which Steve is showing you right now. Large field tournament play only for me for Blake Griffin, but we have the $25 single entry tournament over there on FanDuel. It starts this week for the $25 part of it. I think I'm gonna run Blake Griffin in that tournament, even if he doesn't start, and see if I can make my Celtics lineups a little different. Because I think overall you're gonna have some, Brown, you're gonna have some Brogdon, you're gonna have some White, you're gonna have some Williams. I think that Blake Griffin's really interesting here. So someone in chat just posted Hayes is out.
Yeah, so Killian Hayes is out. Magruder, no Rodney Magruder. He's not playing basketball tonight. The update on James Wiseman is no update. But, Detroit's doing Detroit things, right?
Yeah.
But whatever. They're a disaster, and we'll have to talk about them. Aren't they? They are entrenched, though, right? As far as, they're not falling out of the bottom three. They have 5. Charlotte's got 20 wins, and Detroit has 15. Like, theoretically, let's say Detroit gets 5 wins the rest of the way. Possibly they don't. They probably don't. You're telling me Charlotte's going to go 0 for 20 or whatever it is, 0 for 18 the rest of the way? Like, Charlotte's going to grab a win somewhere. I know they're a disaster. The point is, Detroit's not falling out of the, they're going to be in their spot and where the best they can be as far as winning Wembanyama. But okay, whatever. Not worth thinking into that right now. But the discrepancy in ownership, I think we're a little bit low personally as far as our projection on Griffin. We're only projecting 12 minutes. I think that's a little low. 12 minutes, 9 fantasy points. Obviously, that's not ideal. It's not what you want. And you're talking about you would play him even if he's coming off the bench, if he's not starting.
I don't like money, Dean.
Fragile.
So yeah.
that seems really fragile.
If he doesn't start, he's going to be 1% owned. I have no percent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to play minutes tonight. I mean, Horford's not playing. Williams is out. So Robert Williams is going to or Grant Williams is going to get some minutes. Obviously, Muscala is going to get some minutes. Cornette's going to get some minutes. But I just need Blake to play 20 minutes. If Blake plays 20 minutes at no ownership, if he doesn't start, then I'm just doing well. He's someone in 20 minutes can put up 20 plus fantasy points. He's minimum salary on DraftKings. I think he's 3,900 on FanDuel. So listen, it's a 6-game slate. I want to be different. I think this is a spot where I can be different. So yeah, I mean, I approach single entry tournaments way different than a lot of people, and I'm okay with losing 6 out of 7 days as long as that one day that I hit is really good.
Well, it's like, what do you win when you win, right? You can go 2 for 12, like you said, but you could be profitable winning 2 slates out of 12. You can win one slate out of 12, right? What do you win when you win? Like, if Blake's somehow the difference maker. Like Muscala is also a guy I think you can argue. Center and center only, which is kind of annoying. But he's 15%. I think he's going to start. We'll see. Grant Williams is going to be pretty popular, like 3.4K, more so than Muscala 3.3. Like you said, Griffin is 3K flat men on DK. White getting 27% ownership. Muscala getting 15. Brown getting 15. Smart getting 14. Brogdon at 6, by the way, seems a little low. There's that tricky thing, though. Like, it's like, they've kind of been managing his minutes all season long. And if this game blows out, he's not starting. So he's not going to start. And he probably doesn't mop up either. So that some minutes get thrown away there as far as Brogdon. But if this game's close, and I think there's a good chance he closes too, I like him, especially if that's the ownership. But I don't know how much I love Grant Williams at 29% ownership, 3.4K. I get it. He's going to play a lot of minutes, but not the best fantasy point minute guy with 0.7 on the season. Griffin 0.84, distinctly better, but I just think Williams is going to grab more minutes. You could throw darts right at Hauser. If you think that this game's going to blow out, he would be a mopping up guy, and also he can play 20 minutes as is. Yeah, I don't really have much else as far as Boston. Cleveland, you got to think that Mobley and Allen are going to kind of sort of have their way with whatever's inside there for Boston, but there is and I hate saying the blowout because it's it's 7-8 point line, right? That's if you think it's going to blow out, just withdraw all your DFS money and just bet everything on Cleveland, right? And just double your money. You're not winning a GPP, but that's pretty good if you're so convinced the game's going to blow out. But Mobley and Allen, there's no Horford inside. There's no Williams inside. Blake Griffin defensively, obviously not nearly what he once was. Muscala, we're not afraid of him. Cornette, come on. We sort of touched on Mitchell. If Mitchell doesn't go, you play LeVert. What do you think of the bigs as far as Cleveland and then, guys like Garland as well? Anybody that's worth featuring?
Mitchell plays, probably not. If Mitchell sits, regardless, I think Allen is an okay play today. If you're not paying up for center, I think a lot of people will either pay up or go down to like a Marvin Bagley type play at center today. So, getting a guy like Jared Allen in the middle of that, probably going to have pretty low ownership. I think we're projecting him for around 10%. So, I could definitely see taking some shots on Allen. They don't really have anybody to match up with Allen, whether it be Muscala or Blake Griffin. It should be a really good spot for Allen. So I think that he's obviously in play. I think Mobley has a pretty good game here as well. So I think you can look at either one of these guys as contrarian tournament plays. Everyone else could potentially just be playing Boston. And if you're just playing Boston, I mean, you kind of want something to run back on Cleveland, but I don't think you necessarily need it today because if Mitchell plays, it's going to be very spread out, just pretty much like normal.
Anything else here before we move on?
Not really. I mean, we're all excited about Grant Williams because of just how cheap he is. He played a lot last night, so I'm not I don't think he's a lock by any means. I think he's a good play. I think that Brogdon is a good play. Derek White, I like where his usage is going to be. He's going to be really popular. So you can pivot off of Derek White to like a Marcus Smart to be different. I don't hate that idea because especially with Smart being a little bit more money too. I think that's a way to be different. But I think the question that we're going to get, Crunch Time is going to get, everyone's going to get is how many Celtics is too many on this slate? And I think that's a really fair question. I think that I could see anywhere from like 2 to 4 Celtics on your team, depending on how you want to build out the slate. And I think, though, one thing that you have to remember is Cleveland is a very good defensive team. This isn't just like a lock-it type of spot where Boston is playing Detroit. So I think it's very interesting how this Boston news kind of changed today's slate. And it's kind of what that's my thoughts on this game. That's all I got, Dean.
I'm running some optimals right now. It's interesting. I'm running it again, but I just ran it as you were talking, and I'm not sure if I got the most up to date information. But it was interesting because I had one with one Celtic, one with 2 Celtic, and one with 3 Celtics as far as the first 3 optimals. And I had some variance. I had some range of outcome stuff, and I don't want to hit max exposure 100%. Let's see. Very first one, we're getting White and Williams. Next one, White and Muscala. Muscala about a 21 point projection at 3.3. That's fine. And obviously it helps you spend up for guys like James Harden and Joel Embiid. We'll talk about them in a second. Also, Hayes is in one of these lineups, and guess what? We gotta cross him off the list. So that this kind of stuff's gonna get updated. And most popular center, or I guess forward center, is gonna be Marvin Bagley. 2 players right now, Stevie. 2 players are hitting my threshold on DK. I said I don't want any more than 71, 72%. One is Marvin Bagley. That's really comfortable, right?
Yeah.
You know what the other one is?
I mean, I do because I already looked, but I mean, I would guess it would be. Give me 2 guesses. Give me Derek White or Caleb Martin.
It's neither of those.
Okay.
And it's not Grant Williams either. Grant Williams is around 69% or so. Apparently Burks is popping according to the chat, which that's always comfortable. Jeez. Let's see. Have we gotten our? Yeah, it looks like they're going to be changing stuff up in lineup HQ in a second. And yes, Mr. Richard said, Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish has actually been playing really well of late.
Yeah.
Been playing a ton of minutes too. And he gets a nice matchup against Detroit. He's the other guy that's kind of getting there. And man, there are some uncomfortable names. And you mentioned like everybody wants to play Grant Williams. I don't want to play Grant Williams. I'm going to begrudgingly play some, but nobody's ever excited of playing Grant Williams. I don't think, right? But like he's fine and he makes stuff work and he's going to play 30 minutes, assuming barring goofiness. So I'm going to play some, but begrudgingly. Okay. So we're getting stuff now. Halliburton officially in, Naismith out, which means I suspect, are we going to get a Turner update or are we going to get like game time decision? Nothing changed as far as Miles Turner. Naismith out, Halliburton. Yep, there's the game time for Turner. Yeah, that's worthless, but that's good to know because I guess it's not necessarily TJ McConnell season because Halliburton's going to play. He's got that calf. Aaron Naismith out. Was Naismith on the injury report? Did I miss him?
He didn't play yesterday.
I don't remember him being. He was questionable. He's at that hip.
He didn't play yesterday.
Okay.
They're on the second end of a back-to-back.
Yeah. Okay. That is the next game, so we can discuss it. Philadelphia and Indiana. 232.5 is the total. Indiana currently 8-point dogs. Halliburton and Naismith out. Turner, we're not really sure. He's still questionable. Same deal with Philadelphia. PJ Tucker has a couple dudes that are questionable on the Philadelphia side. Tucker's got that back, and Tobias Harris has a calf. We have a what if set up for those guys as well. If Harris and Tucker don't go, I think that Melton and McDaniels will be the biggest benefactors. What is your thoughts as far as Harris and Tucker?
Harris, he's questionable. I don't know if Tucker plays. I don't know if that really changes much either way for me. If Harris sits, I mean, sorry, I was reading the RG alert. I don't know, man. So much usage for Philadelphia is through Embiid and Harden. So it's just like even Tobias, like he's at the point where he's like under 6K now, and he's been cheap. And he's had one game over 30 fantasy points in his like last 7 or 8. So it's really tough for me to get excited. If they both sat, I think we could maybe take some shots on like a Jalen McDaniels type of like play for tournaments, but he's not even a high usage guy either. So Nang, maybe if we got news that both of them were going to sit. He played 28 minutes the other night. It really, for me, I don't know if this Philly situation is going to really move the needle. I think you're taking shots on Embiid or Harden if you're looking at Philadelphia.
I think it just rises up Maxey too. I like Maxey as is. He's been playing starters minutes, a ton of minutes of late. Maxey's a guy that can actually he will take over, right? Even if Embiid and Harden are out there in some situations, he runs that second unit sometimes as well. They kind of pull him early and bring him back earlier than the other guys when they're out. We actually have a what if Harris and Tucker both happen to be out, and it looks really, really good for Maxey. Maxey 35 DK points, 34 Fanduel points. I think he's perfectly fine as is. Of course, Embiid and Harden will get a bit of a bump as well. They don't necessarily need it. Embiid looks really, really strong as is. Harden too. He's been playing also a ton of minutes for Harden. You mentioned Gorgie Yang. He's kind of at the mercy of making his threes, but even if both those guys are out, they're not projecting to be spectacular plays, and they still have plenty of bodies. They have Reed basically backing up Embiid. Dan House can play 15 minutes. We have McDaniels will start 22, and Shake Milton for 22. Like all those guys would be negative values, but it would just make the good stuff a little bit better. Is kind of that's what you're saying, and I agree with that. And that's what the numbers are suggesting as well. Embiid is going to be a little bit better. Maxey's going to be better. Harden will be better, and then Melton's kind of sort of we're projecting that he would start and play 33 minutes. Now he's a guy that can get lost out there. You talk about the usage of Embiid and Harden. Like Melton can go like 5 minutes, and you don't even realize he's on the court sometimes. But he'll be out there, and he's cheap, so he's kind of like a Grant Williams type, I suppose. Let's see. Now I'm curious what his 16% usage. Go ahead.
Really quick, Dean. I like Maxey a lot more on DK than I do on FanDuel. He's 6,800 on FanDuel, where he's 5,500 on DK.
Yes, that's good to point out. Yeah, and I was looking at DK for what it's worth. So thank you for clarifying that. FanDuel, you can play him, but it's not nearly the play it's on DK. It's a good point. Melton on the season, a pretty good fantasy point better player for what it's worth. 0.86, 0.88 on FanDuel. But its usage as far as taking shots, not very appealing at 16%. Maxey at 25. Like that's Maxey and Harden at the same usage. So, there you go. Obviously Harden, has triple-double potential and Maxey not so much. But just as far as like putting the ball in the bucket, Maxey can put 25 in there, even 30. It wouldn't shock anybody. Did a refresh as far as lineup HQ. We're going to work in the Detroit updates, I imagine, see if we get a different shuffle. As far as the other side of this game, the Pacers, we're still kind of at the mercy as far as Miles Turner, but Halliburton is in. That's good to know. We know Naismith is out. Who would start in place? Probably Mathurin, right? Does that make most sense?
Or
we're
Noara.
guessing we're guessing Noara, which is kind of sort of somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Noara. If Turner gets ruled out, I like Noara a lot. He's what 53 on FanDuel, but he's like 3,800 on DraftKings. So would be a really interesting play, over 20 fantasy points in 4 straight games. So if Turner sits and he gets a little bit of bump in minutes, maybe not even a guy that comes out like first string type of guys to get taken out if this game gets out of hand. So I like Noara a lot if Turner ends up sitting.
If Turner sits, I think Embiid also gets a bump. By the way, we've seen games where Turner steps aside, Indiana becomes really, really vulnerable inside with the likes of Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith. Maybe they'll
They're
dust off
bad.
Daniel
Turner's
Tice.
bad already, though.
Well, okay, but like by comparison, he's better defensively than Jalen Smith and Jackson, right?
I mean,
like
they're all
history.
really bad. Like they're all bottom 20 of like active minutes. Yeah.
As far as defensively, individually, Turner?
Like defensive efficiency, like, yeah.
Oh, I
they're
thought
not
he was
good.
a little
Indiana is not good against centers. I think they allow the 5th most fantasy points. So yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to take shots, I mean, I think that like Embiid's going to crush no matter what. He definitely gets a bump if Turner's out. I wasn't trying to say
that's the
like,
point. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to
saying.
say like, don't play Embiid because Turner. Listen, Embiid crushes.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to discourage anybody from playing Embiid if Turner's in. If that's the way it was sounding, thank you for clarifying. That was not my intent. Ownership wise, and this stuff will shuffle up, right? Oh, we have an ownership update in
no minutes
about
limit
2 hours.
For Brogdon.
Okay, that's good to note. All right. Shannon in chat saying Turner does not want to play against Embiid. Like, I don't know if the players are really doing that. You'd think they'd be like, they're super competitive and they want to probably get up for this stuff, I would imagine. But I'm pretty sure
that for the Pacers.
Turner missed the last time they faced Philadelphia too, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or whatever, but Maxey, by the way, the most popular player according to ownership projections as of 2 hours ago. But we are going to get an update on that. 25% on DK and beat at 20, Harden at 15, Noara at 12. We're giving him 28 minutes for what it's worth. With Halliburton in and Naismith out. And of course, we're projecting Turner in right now. And I don't think we have a what if because the Turner one dropped kind of late. I don't think they were ready for that one. And you don't even know like who's going to start for them necessarily, but it'll be likely one of Smith or Jackson. You got to need some size against Embiid. Do your best to suppress him, but it's not going to help. Halliburton, kind of sort of a low roster player. I think it'll be less than 10%. And would you throw in a single entry contest? Would you take that route, or that's more of a large field stuff?
I think that if you're playing Embiid in a single entry tournament, you can definitely play Halliburton. I think those are the type of lineups that you're getting off of the Boston value or the Boston game just in general to be different. But I think we're going to talk about some plays in these next upcoming games where we're going to like a little bit more than Halliburton. But I think in large field tournaments, you can definitely take a shot. I don't think he is someone like, unless I'm playing Embiid, I run it back. He's expensive. So even on a 6-game slate, we have some really good plays today. So he's going to need 50-ish to 60. And I mean, he's done it in three of the last 4 games. So, I mean, it's definitely the upside's there. He's someone that has double upside and when he's shooting well, but it's the second end of a back-to-back too. So a little bit tired legs for jump shooters, never a great thing.
Has Stevie seen The Big Lebowski?
No. Nope.
Are you aware of The Big Lebowski? The dude?
Nope.
Dude abides?
Nope.
You're not aware of his existence? The dude?
Nope.
Big Lebowski?
Nope.
You couldn't pick him out of a lineup?
Is that the dude with the long hair and the beard?
Yeah, you've seen the gifs on Twitter, I'm sure, if nothing else.
I don't know. Maybe. Sure.
Dude abides, and the carpet really brings the room together. No, nothing.
No.
It turns 25 today. It's you want to feel old. I guess you don't feel old because you didn't.
I don't feel old. I've
really
never watched it. My birthday is Saturday, so I feel old already. But yeah.
Happy birthday in advance. You should watch The Big Lebowski to celebrate it.
I'll pass.
Oh, it's so good. It's a classic movie, man. I'm gonna be thrown off the rest of the show. I'm gonna think about the whole time, like, how have you never seen? You've had 25 years of chances to see the Big Lebowski, and for whatever reason, you've always been too busy. But
yeah, and I'm doing
the chat's
really
gave me
good.
the business, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. I'm doing really good not seeing it, so I'm fine.
But you can always do better.
Good.
Well, the chat is going to let you know that you're making a great mistake. Yes, you'll laugh and you'll cry. It's a great movie. It's a classic.
The only reason I might watch it is because I am a huge Jeff Bridges fan.
Oh yeah. Jeff Bridges he's fabulous in it. It's spectacular. Steve Buscemi's in there. You like Steve Buscemi, right? Little John Turturro. Well, John Goodman is fabulous in it. An excellent job by John Goodman.
I'm a fan of Goodman.
Yeah, you'll like it. We'll talk about it next show you're on. And I'm giving you homework. I'm assigning you to watch.
There's like a less than 0.5% chance that I watch this before next Monday.
Oh man, can we make a bet where, like, if you lose, you got to watch it? Let's make a bet throughout the show, and I'll do something for you. I don't know. I'm doing you a favor by letting you watch The Big Lebowski, but I'm happy if we disagree on something. As the show progresses.
I'll watch it next week. If you watch the race on Sunday and when we do the show Monday, you can give me an update on how it went.
Dude, the races are like 5 hours long. That's not a fair trade-off.
Listen, the race is better than the movie, so I'm helping you out.
All right, let's move on. We'll talk about the third of the 7:00 games. Portland Trailblazers versus the Detroit Pistons. What a gross game. 2:30 is the total. Portland.
This game is fantastic. What do you mean gross game? This game is awesome.
It depends what you like. If you like basketball, it's not fantastic.
Well, if you like NBA, winning money. I don't care about the actual product until the playoffs. Who cares?
If you like pain, though, this is also a game for you because the Pistons are going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you. They're going to find a way to make things unpleasant. They're 5-point dogs here at home, Detroit. The update as far as their injuries, Bogdanovich is out, Durant is out, no beef stew. Hayes is out, Wiseman questionable. Magruder not playing basketball, and Alec Burks. Is Alec Burks going to pop now? I assume he's going to start. And what couldn't they have just traded him away so we have to do a song and dance every time? It was so much easier if he wasn't on this team. No reason why he should be in the Pistons at this point. But okay. As far as Portland, their injuries, the same deal. Nurkic, Winslow, Anthony Simons, Arcidiacono all out. We got a revenge game for Jeremy Grant. There you go. You mentioned there were some point guards you might want to spend up on that are more appealing going forward. You mentioned that in the previous game. Do you like Lillard more than you like Harden? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I mean, I think Harden or Lillard, not Harden, Lillard. You confused me, Dean. Listen, if you listen or read the extra survey today, you know how much I like Lillard today. I think he's one of the top plays in the entire slate. His numbers are just fantastic. 40.4% usage rate when we take Simons and Nurkic off the floor. If we take Josh Hart as well, it gets up to almost 42%, averaging like 1.7 and 1.8 fantasy points per minute, depending on the site. So, yeah, I mean, when we're looking at a slate where you have a team that's actively trying to lose games that is terrible defensively, I mean, I think you have to consider Lillard as one of the top plays. Detroit allows the second most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So, fantastic spot for Lillard. His usage is through the roof. I think it's really not a bad spot for Grant either. And with Detroit kind of rolling some people out here, we have some run back options. So I think overall, yeah, I agree with you. The game is, Detroit games for the rest of the year, they're actively trying to lose games. So the games for the rest of the year are going to be hard to watch. But I think this is a game where it stays somewhat competitive, and it's not like Portland's been playing great recently. So I see this game staying somewhat competitive. You get two bottom 5 defensive teams. I think this is a game you take advantage of, and just hope that Detroit doesn't Detroit.
How comfortable is 37% Marvin Bagley chalk, like from like a love seat to like a bar stool? It's like kind of like wobbly. Well, where are you at as far as the comfort level on Marvin Bagley being super, super popular on the slate on DK at 5.5? We did see both start last game, right? Wiseman and Bagley played alongside each other, and I did play against Cleveland, which made a lot of sense because the big boys were talking about as far as Cleveland. Before that game, I believe it was just like 3 minutes they played together, Wiseman and Bagley. Now, Wiseman is questionable. If he doesn't play, then it's like full-fledged Bagley season, which again, but Bagley's just you got to play him, right? I guess this is a spot not to be different. Just kind of like embrace that the chalk that is Marvin Bagley in the year 2023.
I'm not fading him. I
Yeah.
still think he's too cheap. I think at the end of the day, it's too cheap. Like he's someone that like we see like with this dynamic pricing. People get moved up really fast, and like this guy just hasn't. So he's come back from the wrist injury. He's put up over 38 fantasy points in 3 or 4 games. The game that he didn't was against Chicago. He just had a bad game. That was the least, like he had 5 shot attempts in that game, and he's been over 12 every other game. So just wasn't like the same type of game. And he was like 1 rebound away in that game and like 2 points from a double-double still. So like the upside is just incredible with Marvin Bagley right now. You mentioned it. Wiseman's banged up. He's getting his minutes. They're giving him minutes. Like it doesn't matter when the game is going on. They're just giving him minutes. So I think Marvin Bagley is a top play today. One of my favorite plays on the slate, one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate. So yeah, I mean, he projects well. He projects for a lot of ownership for good reason. Fantastic spot. If Nurkic played in this game, it's a completely different conversation, but with Nurkic out, load up on Marvin Bagley tonight.
We're giving 30 minutes to Bagley and 27 to Wiseman, so we're projecting some crossover if Wiseman goes. Yeah. For what it's worth, I did a refresh. We have a new batch of ownership. Bagley now 41% owned on DraftKings. Oh, I'm sorry. That's FanDuel. Okay, so maybe it's a different. Okay, I jumped from FanDuel. But yeah, he's been popular over there as well. Let's see. Has the ownership changed here as of 5:45? Yep, Bagley 40% on DraftKings. Alec Burks at 33%. What are we doing with ourselves? We're asking for pain. We're asking for pain. When who could have predicted that like Detroit's going to screw us? It's the Pistons. But like I'm going to play him. I'm sure some. Hamidou Diallo is still getting a little bit too cheap. Even just giving 27 minutes, he's a perfectly fine play. Jaden Ivey, we're giving him 32, the most minutes in the team, I believe. Yeah. Obviously, you're not playing Corey Joseph or Livers. I don't think you're playing Livers. I guess he's kind of a cheapy dart, but not something I want to get to. And if Wiseman doesn't go, like Bagley's going to be really hard not to play. What if Bagley doesn't start? Like, what if they start Wiseman and Bagley doesn't start? They don't start alongside each other.
I'm still playing Bagley.
Yeah, he would also mop. Well, I say mop up, but they're playing Portland. Portland's a disaster as well.
Both these teams are terrible.
Yeah, and the minutes have been really out of this world for Portland. They're on the back half of back-to-back. They're traveling, and they're still 5-point favorites against Detroit, in case you were wondering how terrible the Pistons are. Lillard only getting like 18% that seems a little bit low. I know the price is getting somewhat out of hand at 11.6, but dude's putting up 40 points every single night. It's outrageous. And are the Pistons the team that's gonna suppress that? Probably not. We mentioned Cam Reddish in passing earlier. He's getting 21% on DK, 4.3K, playing 30-plus minutes. I don't think I'm playing Thibault. I know he kind of hits sometimes in optimals, and I can't. This 3-point shot he found in Portland, I'll give me the big sample of the small sample. Historically, throughout his entire career, he could not hit threes, maybe 30% or something like that. He's been shooting great threes for Portland so far. Good for him. But I do not think that's going to sustain. I don't hate the old Jeremy Grant revenge game. I'm fine with Grant. 7-1's a pretty reasonable price. I like him a good bit, actually. I'm going to at least one lineup with him. Anything else of notes? And I did run more optimal, Stevie. Let's see what we have now. Very first optimal, of course, it has Alec Burks and Marvin Bagley. Why wouldn't it? Yay, get excited. The second one has those two. No other Pistons, for what it's worth. And surprisingly, does not have Lillard. Lillard's in the second one, for what it's worth. So, yeah. All right. Maxey, Bagley, and Burks are all hitting my threshold. So, there you go. Those guys are all hitting 72%. Grant Williams is knocking on the door right on the outside looking in. Anything else we should put a light on as far as this game, or shall we move on? It's making me feel icky.
I like really quick. I like Diallo as a pivot off of Burks. I know the positions are not exactly the same, but I think Bagley probably ends up in my lineup. And I say probably Bagley's going to be in my lineup. I know that,
Yeah.
and I think Diallo is a great pivot off of Burks. I think he'd be like one of the first guys off the floor if Detroit like got up a lead in this game and they, hey, we need to lose this game. I think Burks would be one of the guys off the floor. So I like Diallo as like a pivot in tournaments off of Burks, but if Wiseman sits, man, it just opens up everything even more. I really want Wiseman to play in this game to maybe suppress the ownership of Bagley a little bit.
They don't have a center. Like if Wiseman doesn't go, right? Bagley's not really a center. He can play center, but I guess he's kind of similar to center. But
they're playing
I'm just
Portland.
thinking like Eubanks is kind of interesting. Well, I guess the other part is like Wiseman's horrific defensively. I think we should get some Drew Eubanks. I was trying to think of like the other bigs in Detroit. It's like obviously no Beastu, no Duran. Those guys are out. There's not a lot of size over there. Jim Boeheim's kid is getting some run for Detroit. I don't. Is he really? Is Buddy? Is that a nickname or is that really what his name? I don't watch college basketball. Is that for real? His name, Buddy Boeheim. And then everybody else is small. They don't really have any size in this team. You got to think that like Grant and Eubanks would just whatever they want inside, they can get done. And even like Watford off the bench in maybe 15, 20 minutes, depending on. I don't know, man. It's going to be it's a weird thing because like it's a catch-22 because Wiseman's horrific too defensively, but at least he has some size. He's got some height. But if he's out, Detroit is so small. All right, just thought that was worth pointing out. Yeah, apparently Buddy is his real name, Buddy Boeheim. Did he play for Syracuse or a different college? You watch the college basketball? Are you aware of this guy's history? I don't know.
I watched some Gator games. That's about it.
Shout out to Udonis Haslam. There you go.
All
right. He played for the Gators like 20 years ago.
I mean, that's the name that came to your mind when you thought Gator?
Who
basketball?
should come to my mind when I think of Gators basketball?
Joakim Noah, Al Horford.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but is there anybody from University of Florida the last 10 years I should be aware of?
Not that I know of.
No.
We've had some good college players, but I don't think any of them are in the NBA.
Yeah. Okay, that's 3 games down. That's the 7 o'clock games that are down. Crunch time, by the way, if y'all are not aware, they come in earlier these days. They're going to be jumping in around 6:15, 6:20-ish. Thank you guys all have to lock. You got Andy Means. You got Keith, the Iceman. You have Kevin Roth steering that ship. Atlanta, the Hawks are in Miami, in South Beach. South Beach flu alert, by the way. This is, they're playing 2, right? Atlanta lost a couple days ago in Miami. They're stuck around for a couple days. And they're in Miami. South Beach flu alert, right? What you think they were just sticking, just hanging out in their hotels all weekend long? What do you think? I don't think so. 3-point dog here, 229.5 is the total. Atlanta at Miami, as far as who's in and who's out in this game. Well, Atlanta's fully healthy. They're good to go. Your 7 should be available for Miami. I'm not sure if he's going to get any run. I think he was in the G League. Doesn't really matter. Kyle Lowry, of course, out for a bit. Yeah. As far as the rest of the Heats, Kevin Love. Kevin Love is not playing. He has, I think he's got a rib, so no basketball for him tonight. Your thoughts as far as Atlanta, Miami? Atlanta was mollywopped by the Heat not too long ago, a couple days ago. Trae Young historically not good against Miami for whatever it's worth. Tough defense, even though their team is not great. Their offense kind of sputters, but I don't love this game. You tell me otherwise. I know Butler is on Fanduel grabbing a ton of ownership, which is kind of surprising to me. You tell me. Hawks, Heat.
I mean, he kind of fits the build on FanDuel because you can use him at small forward, power forward, and he's under 9K.
Yeah.
So I completely understand. But, yeah, I mean, this game overall, I think if it wasn't a 6-game slate and it was like a 12-game slate, we probably wouldn't be talking about it a lot. I think you're going to get a lot of ownership on the Cleveland and Detroit game, which we've already talked about. So I hate the spot for Trae Young. I mean, if I'm playing anybody here, it's probably DeJounte on DraftKings at 7,900 or like a Clint Capella. We talked about how people are probably playing up for Jokic or going down at center. So getting Capella at like 6,100 the new coach has, kind of given him, I don't know if it's like confidence or the minutes, maybe, but it's not a great matchup. But I think that his usage is up here recently. Obviously, I think it was the third game with the new coach. And he's had over 15% usage in 2 of 3 of those games where he's kind of like a 13 to 16% guy. So Capella is interesting for large field tournaments, but overall, I mean, there's a reason that this Atlanta team doesn't have a lot of ownership. There's a reason that like Butler and Martin have some ownership on the other side. Caleb Martin is extremely cheap, a pivot off of, some of these Detroit and Boston players. He's a guy that plays around 30 plus minutes a night. I don't expect like Kevin Love to play a ton of minutes.
I think he's out, right?
He got ruled out, right? So
yeah.
Hey, look, he's not playing a lot of minutes. I was right.
He's playing 0, exactly.
Yeah, nailed it. So I mean, Caleb Martin on the cheap end for Miami. Butler, like him a lot on FanDuel. But even on DraftKings, I think Butler, it's one of those scenarios where like he's just not getting a lot of ownership over there. So I think he's interesting for tournaments. I do think there's better plays. There's a guy that we're getting to here in a couple games where he's my favorite play on the slate. So in this same price range. So overall, I mean, not a great game. Caleb Martin cheap. He's a value play that could be interesting to pivot off these other ones.
Let's see. I gave a refresh on FanDuel. Butler getting 31%, Martin getting 31%, Bam 17%, Hero 9%. Let's see. The first Hawk is Collins at 3%, Trae Young at 2%. So it's like if you're running out a bunch of lineups, like it's worth a shot. You just never know, right? He certainly can score 40 points. It's not shocking. I'm not running a bunch of lineups, so I'm probably not going to get there. On DK, Bam crushed his team last time out for what it's worth, and I like Adebayo once again. Butler 14%. It's we're getting more so as far as ownership on DK. Of course, you get that 3-point bonus when Young makes his threes, and he's cheaper. He's 9-4. How do you feel about Martin versus I know you mentioned him, but do you think he separates himself from I guess the cheap Detroit stuff? Cam Reddish versus Martin.
I mean, Cam Reddish is going to be twice the ownership probably than Martin.
I think so.
So yeah, I mean, Cam Reddish has been playing fantastic. So I think Martin is more of like a pivot off of like maybe like a Burks type of play. Detroit, like you hate clicking Detroit players. They get on runs and they sit guys for getting on runs. I mean, they're really trying to lose games right now. So I think
I think they're smart enough. I really think that. Well, look, maybe I'm going to sound silly saying this. I think they should realize that they're safe now. The job's done, but maybe they don't. Again, they really look really secure
because it's
they
3
can't
teams,
do any better.
right? It's 3 teams.
Yeah, Detroit, Houston, and San Antonio are the top 3 teams. San Antonio's third as far as they have 16 wins, and Charlotte's next with 20. So Detroit has 5. Yeah.
I was just going to say, does Charlotte win another game this season, though?
Yeah, they'll win a game. They'll win 1. Is Detroit going to win 5? I don't think Detroit wins 5, so does it matter? Right?
No, listen, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I don't want you to think I'm disagreeing with you. Yeah. They are trying to win. I mean, I beg to differ on some of the Detroit game flow and rotations that I've seen here when looking into them. So I'm a Magic fan. I get it. So but yeah, I don't know. It's tough. But yeah, I mean Martin is okay. I think he's an okay value pivot.
We have 2 games left to talk about. We'll talk about them in just a second. But if you don't want to mess with the nonsense that is Detroit and their just overall stench of the slate, may I suggest considering playing on Stat Hero? Stat Hero, if you're not aware, it's a unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete against the house instead of other players. Head-to-head style contests are also available, as well as pick 'em style contests you can play. They have a new Searing 12 contest for a chance at $10,000. How do you get that $10,000? You play and win to start your streak. You keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. We're going to talk about that streak in just a second. Build your streak up, win prizes. consecutive wins, including swag. You get some RG swag, some RG premium cash prizes as well. We wouldn't mention them if we didn't have a nice, sweet, fat deposit bonus for the people. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus, up to $250. Jump into the action today. Stevie, here's our matchup today as far as the Stat Hero head-to-head. I'm pulling it up now. I know I had the link somewhere. You're going to drop it in chat. There it is. I know you copied it and pasted it. You have to tell me, which side are you on? It's points. Now, it's just points, right? Not fantasy points. Jokic versus CJ McCollum.
Jokic.
Oh, and it looks like McCollum's getting – is he getting 1.5 points? If I'm reading this correctly, he's plus 1.5 as far as like a spread. Is that enough to – yeah, there you go. All right. Start your streak today. If you get 12 in a row, you get 10K. If I'm reading this correctly, yeah.
Really quick, all joking aside, I'm messing with Dean and it's fun. But I really think this like wrist thing for CJ McCollum is a thing. He's been scoring a little bit better here recently, but I still think that like in this scenario, I think you have to go Jokic, and we're going to talk here soon about Brandon Ingram. I think he smashes tonight, but like if we just compare recent stuff, I think CJ McCollum is interesting. But if Michael Porter Jr. ends up sitting, which he got the in-day downgrade, I think that Jokic gets a bump. Court IQ agrees with me, by the way. Jokic gets a bump. So, yeah, I mean, I lean Jokic in this one.
Stevie, we're going to make a movie bet, and I'm not going to watch the Daytona whatever race is going down this weekend. But I will watch Top Gun. You're a fan of the Top Gun. I haven't watched Top Gun yet. You want me to watch that nonsense,
the first
right?
Top Gun? You were trying to lecture me on movies, and you haven't watched.
I've seen the original. I know about Goose, R.I.P. Spoiler alert, statute of limitations.
So you haven't seen the new one?
No, I haven't seen the new one yet. But it's I don't really care. But I guess I'll watch it if everybody else likes it.
I'll watch Big Lebowski if you watch all 3 seasons of Outer Banks.
Dude, you understand? That is not a fair trade. You're like the guy in the season long who's offering me Alec Burks for Jokic. It doesn't work that way. Time versus time, movie versus movie. You're not easy to trade with. I'll watch the Top Gun movie.
This is why I win, Dean. Winners win.
Unbelievable. That's just like your opinion, man. All right. Well, let's knock out these.
Are you
last
not an
2
Outer
games.
Banks fan? Not an Outer Banks fan?
I know people like it, actually. I feel like it's more like a teen show. I can't say that.
It's not a bad show. Not a bad
show. I've heard people like it. I can't besmirch it.
I have to have like mutual shows now. I got to watch with my wife, so it's not a bad show.
I got to fire up the new season of You. I haven't started that just yet. It's on the old Netflix, and I feel like that's a good relationship show. Well, I mean, good and bad.
That's not happening. Well, we have limitations.
Fair enough. Toronto, the Raptors are in Denver. 229 is the total. Toronto, 6-point dog there tonight. We're not certain about the availability of. Let's see who's questionable. Is it MPJ? Michael Porter Jr.'s not feeling well. Correct? Is that not the update? It's the last I saw. Otherwise, everybody's good to go. Toronto's perfectly clean, and Ken Carr is questionable for Denver as well. I don't think that matters enough to acknowledge. But yeah, you mentioned Jokic. Jokic versus Embiid. That's a good starting point. Who do you prefer amongst those two?
Embiid or Jokic is tough. So overall, I think Halliburton playing helps Indiana keep the game closer now. But I think overall, I think Jokic has a higher ceiling, especially if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play. So they're both really good. It's just, who do you like? Your secondary pieces are Harden against Jamal Murray. Murray's been playing great, but I think at the end of the day, when Harden gets on one, Embiid's going to suffer. And when Jamal Murray gets on one, Jokic is going to be dishing him the ball and still getting a ton of rebounds. So I lean Jokic over Embiid. I don't have either one in my lineup right now, but I do think they're both very, very good plays today.
Mitchell, for what it's worth, Donovan Mitchell going through his pre-game warm-up routine as of right now. We both think he's going to play. We'll see. We'll get that news at some point.
Cleveland needs to win that game, Dean, so I look smart. we got Cleveland minus 1.5 last night on the podcast. During overtime of that game, I was like, Horford's not playing for sure, and it moved from the time we started talking about it to like 3.5, and it was like 8.5 earlier today. So, got to listen to the morning grind night before. Let's go.
This Denver game, Denver Toronto, it's just not that appealing. Obviously there are certain guys that could hit their ceilings. Jokic is fine, 15% as far as ownership. We're getting Porter at 11%. Again, I think he's still questionable. Last I saw, nobody really getting any ownership at all in Toronto. If you want to throw that dart on Pirtle, Pirtle probably is going to be asked to play a ton of minutes to at least attempt to subdue Jokic, big body. But it's not a good rebounding matchup. Denver is the worst rebounding opponent. I believe they've got the least amount of rebounds per game to opponents. Obviously, there's foul trouble as well when you're tasked with the manning up on the Joker. I don't like. There's no math reason that says that Pascal Siakam or FEV are good plays. They're probably gonna throw KCP on FEV. But can it happen? Sure. If you're playing 150, should they be in your pool? I guess. And it doesn't take much to get over the field, but I don't really like anybody on Toronto. Do you want to sell me on anybody in the Raptors? I don't have anybody for you.
When we were doing the podcast last night, I was like, oh, Fred VanVleet, very interesting play today. And then I open up, he's like 21% projected ownership on FanDuel. He's 8,200. He's cheap, So I think that is what was kind of appealing, but the 20% ownership, not great. When I was doing value tags today, I saw OG was pretty cheap on Yahoo if you play over there. I don't hate that overall. Yeah, I mean, the usage is just so spread out that it's really hard, and the pricing on these guys is just really hard now. So I don't have a ton of interest in Toronto. Like you said, if you're playing 150, maybe you're getting some shots on Fred VanVleet. Maybe you're taking some shots on Barnes if you think Siakam struggles with Jokic type of thing. But yeah, I mean, even Jokic projecting for pretty low ownership. If this game stays super competitive, you could take some shots on Jokic or Murray. If Michael Porter Jr. sits, Will was talking about Bruce Brown last night, and I think that's even more interesting now. If we get news that Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play, because Bruce Brown is 3.9K on DraftKings compared to 5.6 on FanDuel. So I think Bruce Brown would be very interesting if Michael Porter Jr. sits. So I think that was a solid call that could come all the way around here if Michael Porter Jr. sits.
Yeah, Brown is so versatile. I think basically if 1 through 4 is out, I think they just plug him in to start for anybody 1 through 4. If Murray is out, if KCP is out, if Porter is out, even if Gordon is out, that's typically what they'll do. Yeah, that's a pretty good price. The tricky thing is, how do you plan for that, right? Not that you're dead if MPG is in and you're just sort of stuck with Brown. He's fine, I guess. There's a path, but not ideal. But this game's at 9 o'clock. There's a 10 o'clock game behind it. But you might not know about MPJ until after the 7:30 game, until after 4 of the 6 games have tipped off. So just plan accordingly, I suppose. But yeah, I don't hate that idea. I wanted to see if we have a what if for that, but I don't think we have one set up for it. Let's see. Maybe we do.
If we take Michael Porter Jr. off the floor, the biggest bump is Jokic, and then it just kind of spreads out after that.
The Hammer game, the last game of the evening, New Orleans at Sacramento. Big total in this game, we're looking at 237. Sacramento is a 6-point favorite. I believe that's the biggest number on the board, right? Yeah, by a good bit. There's really no wow. I guess the Philadelphia, Indiana, 234 is a big number. But yeah, biggest total on the board as far as New Orleans and Sacramento. Looks like a pretty good Hammer game for sure. De'Aaron Fox, as of right now, is questionable with his hamstring. Questionable on the other side, big man Jonas Valanciunas. Josh Richardson is still out. Larry Nance is still out. Grand Theft Alvarado not playing basketball tonight. No Jose Alvarado. So New Orleans is pretty thin. If Valanciunas doesn't go, yeah, man. I mean, you could play the Willie Hernangomez, Jackson Hayes game. This game just might go smaller. I think Sabonis is well positioned to play, be good as is. I think he gets a bump if there's no Valanciunas. And also he would get a bump if there's no Fox. Your read as far as New Orleans, Sacramento.
Best game on the slate. I mean, for me anyway, I love this game. I think that Brandon Ingram is going to smash. He draws one of the best matchups on the slate, and just someone that I know he's projected for like 20 to 25%, but I think he's just someone that's going to go overlooked on the slate. So I have a ton of interest in Ingram. I think that if Valanciunas sits, I think we're trying to make Hernan Gomez a thing, and it's not really a thing. They want to play like Herb Jones. So I lean more towards that. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about like if Valanciunas sits, Sabonis gets a bump, and I agree with that. I think that if Sabonis is out, it's a bump to the other side. I assume Fox plays, but if for some reason Fox doesn't play, I mean, Malik Monk would just be one of the best value plays on the slate. That's where it gets kind of tough when it comes to like trying to get the early games and trying to mix in some of this late stuff because we likely don't get this news. So fun slate, but I mean, this game I think you're gonna have to get this game right. Yeah, the Boston Detroit value, but I think you're gonna have to get this game right to win a tournament tonight.
I think Fox plays too. Would you like Mitchell at all if he drew the start? If Fox doesn't go, obviously.
I'm not doing it anymore. You can't peer pressure me into it.
Yeah, the names in this slate that could be playable, that are going to be playable as is. It's pretty gross for sure. Chat's talking about Hernan Gomez. Yeah, that was not a. We kind of talked about this one, I believe, on Friday when it happened. Not me and you, but whatever was on the show with me on Friday. Hernan Gomez is basically got to play off the court there against Golden State. He doesn't really fit that game, and I don't know if he fits the game against Sacramento either. So, and Jackson Hayes didn't close. Who did they play as far as their five? They played Ingram, Murphy, McCollum, Herb Jones, and Marshall. So I guess Ingram was playing the five, closing down the stretch. If I'm reading that correctly. Yeah. So, yeah, they played small there against Golden State. A little bit tougher against Sabonis, I think. But, what if Valanciunas can't go? Or what if Valanciunas goes? Could he play up to 30 minutes or so, assuming he dodges foul trouble? Just kind of, the absence of there's no Nance behind him, obviously. I guess they could play some Hayes. I guess they could play some Hernan Gomez. But I don't know how successful that's going to work out for New Orleans. You're not really getting a discount as far as the price.
The other night, Murphy and Marshall is who they close with.
And yeah, I'm thinking, but like, who's their biggest guy amongst? I feel like isn't Ingram like the de facto five? If it's Marshall's a wing too, like it's like they're all wings. Like Ingram's a wing, yeah, but Murphy's a wing, Jones is a wing, Marshall's a wing, and then McCollum.
I could see Ingram maybe matching up with Sabonis, but I think maybe like a Herb Jones.
Yeah. Chat, by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in, whatever's in your mind. Interactive show. We have Crunch Time coming in a few minutes as well. If you're thinking this guy or that guy, we're happy to help before we step aside, before we yield. How would you stack this game up? Give me like one way to attack it. Like how ambitious would you be, considering salary and all that good stuff? Build me a little game stack here as far as New Orleans, Sacramento.
I mean, if you use some of the value, but yeah, I agree with JR, by the way, like saying that Ingram's going to guard Sabonis. That's not going to happen.
Is that what I was saying? I don't think that's not what I was trying to say.
That's how it's coming off, Dean.
I said that Ingram played the five last game. I guess the de facto five. I'm not saying, but that was against Golden State, where obviously Sabonis doesn't really. There's no comp.
Ingram against like Draymond is way different than like Ingram against Sabonis, though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I wasn't saying that that's obviously what's going to happen here. I guess I didn't clarify that. That was not my intent. But
Sabonis,
the Orleans would be in trouble. Is kind of the point. But go ahead.
If you're game stacking this game, I think like Sabonis Ingram would be the first two pieces for me. And then it kind of from there it gets interesting on like maybe getting a third piece and hoping the injury news falls your way would be how I would approach it. But I think you really don't even need to game stack it. I think you could go Sabonis Ingram, and then if you really wanted to, if you're going to use maybe like your utility and maybe putting like a Trey Murphy in there, and if Fox doesn't play, you could switch to Malik Monk with it being the late game and just leaving a little bit of money on the table. So that's where I would do. But I think Ingram, like I said, I love this spot for him, and running it back with Sabonis because again, like if Valanciunas does end up sitting, they really don't have anybody to match up with Sabonis, and I think he could have a big game.
That's kind of the point I was making, and like JR in the chat saying that if Jonas doesn't go, Willie's a smash play, and like I don't know if he's going to be on the court that long. I'm not sure how long he sticks around because I think Sabonis works him, running back and forth. I don't know if he can keep up with this game. Like, can he? Sure, but just acknowledge the range of outcomes for Hernan Gomez of maybe he only plays like 14 minutes. Like again, he was actually good. I think point per minute that game against Golden State, fantasy wise, right from our perspective, but he got played off the court, and I think that could happen again against Sacramento. Is it possible they'd say, well, screw it, we got nothing else, we got to give him 28 minutes? Like Jackson Hayes' music is right there too, but they don't have a lot of options, is just what I'm saying. But and there's a big range of outcomes. If you want to throw that dart at Hernan Gomez, sure, but also understand that he may just disappear. He might pull a Kaiser Soze and just where did he go? Just kind of limping away, and he's in the locker room, and it's the fourth quarter, and you're not getting any more fantasy points. Speaking of movies, we have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. We have Andy Means. We have Keith here. 6-game slate. Just for a second here, Roth. It's the 25-year anniversary of one of the most biggest classics of all time, The Dude of Bods.
Oh, The Big Lebowski.
Yes, there you go. And one of the two hosts on the previous show either A has not seen The Big Lebowski, and B refuses to see it, despite a massive recommendation from me and from the chats. Just won't.
But if Roth
just
tells me it's
his
good,
arms.
I might actually watch it, Dean. You've told me movies
Why
are
don't
good
you
in the
trust
past.
my-
And it's
We haven't
awful,
built up a certain
so-
credibility.
Oh, no. Meansy, what is it? I'm scared, Meansy. What is it? Let's hear it.
Okay, so I've heard so many people talking about this movie, and let's call it, for sake of argument, we'll call it 15 years ago. It's like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch this movie. Everyone says how good it is. I'm going to get open mind. I'm going to watch it. I don't see what the hype's all about. It was just not
that a
good.
boy. See, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Dean,
Didn't
like when
even-
Dean
not
hypes
even-
up a movie, it's just like,
Yeah.
get me out of here. Roth, like we need to have a conversation. Like, sorry, Keith, but I need to be on the crunch time crew because doing shows with Dean is just, oh man, it makes my ears hurt.
Well,
Hi,
that's
Dean.
just like your opinion, man.
That's good. That was good. It's a good movie.
If you
but
know the
it's-
movie,
it's
you would
really
get
weird.
the reference.
It's
I don't
Andy,
need
really?
this movie.
Where you
really-
saying simpatico, Andy? No, nothing.
I'm just being honest, man. I didn't even consider wanting to watch it again either. It's like, I don't get it. To each their own, though. It just didn't really hit home for me.
All right, fair. Keith, you have a thought on this? I feel like you're probably you haven't seen it.
I have seen it, but I'm kind of in Andy's court. Like it's fine, but like I don't know. It doesn't deserve the hype that it gets. I agree with Andy.
Well, happy anniversary to
chance
the Big
I'm watching
Lebowski
it,
for
Dean.
myself. The
I
chat
told
is
Dean
on
if he
my
watched
side.
the NASCAR race on Sunday, I would watch the movie, and he said he's not watching the race, so I'm not watching it.
19 hours of racing versus a 2-hour movie. It's not a fair trade-off. I'm sorry.
19 hours of racing.
We got another checkered flag. Steve, you got anything else before we step aside and get out of here?
No, these guys are going to bring you all home. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, man, looking forward to next Monday doing another show with Dean. I'm looking forward to it so much.
I expect a full review on the Big Lebowski. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth going to take you guys home with the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time. Roth, go for it.
Appreciate it. Good work as always. Other than the movie recommendations, no, Big Lebowski is a classic. Like it's worth a watch, but I can understand why it is not everybody's cup of tea. Hey, welcome to it. This is Crunch Time, and this is sponsored by Fanduel. Shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Fanduel. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Andy Means, fresh off a weekend. What up, Means?
Yeah, thrown right back in on Monday. This slate's, I don't know what to say about this slate. I'm against projections on some places, which is rare for me because I'm very analytically driven. So I don't know, man. I don't. That could go one of two ways. That could go great or it could go poorly. So,
But what's
I
important
don't know.
is that, like, if you feel that way, you stand behind it. You know, I don't care what way it goes, but
I suck at that. I suck at that.
I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that. And then we got the Iceman as well coming in with some tournament takes. Ice, how are you?
I'm well. Yeah, just not a great slate here. There's a lot of uncomfortable chalk. We'll get it and break it down, but Detroit's going to be popping. Never a team that we like to play. They always do crazy stuff with their rotation. So just because guys are projected to play 30 minutes on Detroit does not mean that they are actually going to play 30 minutes. We've got Boston with a Tatum out and a bunch of other guys missing as well. And there's actually still some news we're waiting on, despite a lot of these games starting right here at lock.
Okay, very good. Hey, we're going to talk about FanDuel, but first you should know that you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1K. And also the FanDuel Single Entry Series, sponsored by RotoGrinders, still ongoing. Reserve your spot in the Monday NBA contest. It's called And One. Reserve your spot in the And One. $25 entry fee, $2K to first place. So make sure you are filling that up every single time. Means, let's talk about the slate a little bit.
Yeah, I alluded to some stuff that we're still waiting on. And just when looking at the games in general, first 3 of them start, in 40 minutes. The Atlanta-Miami game starts 30 minutes after that. And then we have a 90-minute break. Then a couple late night games, one at 9 Eastern and one at 10 Eastern. So a lot of the news we're waiting on that I expect to be relevant is going to happen early. And by that, I mean, I shouldn't say relevant because I probably misspoke there. De'Aaron Fox and Joe Val are questionable in the very, very last game of the night. But I think both those guys are way closer to probable the way the reports have come out with them practicing and the way the coaches are talking. So I'm viewing this as a front loaded news slate personally, the way I'm building. And that would be Wiseman is still questionable for Detroit. They already ruled out, a handful of guys before the day even started, but then they ruled out Killian Hayes and McGruber. So that leaves them with 11 guys. If Wiseman's out, that'd be 10 guys and no bigs except for Bagley. So that's relevant. Miles Turner got down the midday downgrade to questionable. We'll see if he's out, who starts for them. Maybe it's Jackson, but again, they're going up against Embiid. So as good as whoever that guy is starting is going to project, there's going to be risk there just because they're going up against Embiid, and those guys will project pretty well because they're cheap. And then, the Philly situation. And these are all 3 of these spots are 7:00 Eastern games. Philly could be without Tucker and Tobias. So, relevant, not a huge shakeup, but a pretty big shakeup. Those are 2 starters. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think we're going to get flooded with news here in a little bit. Right. What I think is going to happen.
This sounds like it's going to be a fun next 37 minutes here.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. Yes, for me. Maybe not for you guys. Well, let's start with it even feels weird diving into it with all of this pending news that's going to come down. But we got to do something, Means. So let's kind of kick things over to FanDuel, talk about a build.
Yeah. And just before I dive really hard into the build, I guess it's the stuff I really care about would be the Turner thing. The Sixers news is going to matter more in DraftKings where those guys are cheaper. And then trying to think. And then, Wiseman will matter, but we already like Bagley. A couple other guys will probably move up a little bit. But, yeah, that's kind of the way I'm at least thinking about it in my head. So, yeah, point guard on FanDuel. Basically 3 guys are just clear standouts to me. One expensive one, Damian Lillard at 10-8, and then 2 cheap ones, Derek White and Alec Burks. The Derek White because they're without Tatum, Horford, and Time Lord, and then Burks because they're without literally 6 guys or 7 guys or whatever. A handful of them are backcourt high usage guys. So that's the 3 main ones on FanDuel. So there's a handful of other pieces I like as less fill-ins, but Brogdon would be one, I suppose. Maxey will get a little bit of a nice little bump especially if Tobias is out. Maxey will look a little better, but he's way cheaper on DraftKings. So let's move on because no point in really going any further than those main 3 I like. Shooting guard, 2 of those guys are here. You have Burks and White. Then you have Jaden Ivey at 6'1", only shooting guard eligible. But same reason we like Burks was why we'll like Ivy because of the Pistons being shorthanded. Diallo is 5'8". I slightly prefer Ivy, but Diallo has shooting guard, small forward, so you can use them. You can use them there as well. Let's see. I'm trying to think, because that's like 5 guys right there that are point guard and shooting guard that you can mix and match, 5 or 6, I would say. That's really what I think you're looking at. Like maybe McCollum, maybe like Herb Jones or something. But yeah, I think it's a pretty condensed pool for the guard spots here. So let's go to small forward. So there's a group of cheapies here that I can't really like give you an honest feel on. It's like this 4 to 5K range. So there's like Caleb Martin, Tybal, Trey Murphy, Reddish, Diallo. Oh yeah, Herb's there. Like, I have no idea, man. I'm not gonna sit here and BS you. Like, I think you're probably playing at least one of those guys, just because it's not a great position, and maybe like let's say you maybe want to use Diallo at shooting guard. It's just not a great position. So I think you're probably playing at least one of those guys, and then you have 2 expensive guys that you can jam in both these guys too, and just not play any of those cheapies I said. But you have Butler and Ingram, so I think that's what you're looking at. That's a bunch of guys, but it's very clear as far as like delineation of the pricing tiers. 2 expensive guys and then a whole bunch of cheapies. So don't really have a feel on the expensive guys either, for that matter. I'd probably say Ingram over Butler, but I don't have a strong feel. Power forward is where it starts to come into a little bit more focus, just because you have Bagley here. So like, since he came back from the injury 4 games ago, I think he's averaged 36 FanDuel points per game. That's not in a ton of minutes either. I think the average was 26 minutes per game off the top of my head. Put him in the starting lineup last game, and like if you look at the game flow tracker, like pretty much garbage time proof. Like they took him out with like 3 minutes to go, but that game was well out of hand, and he played most of the fourth quarter until the very, very end. And again, Wiseman's Q, so price tag's better on DraftKings. The scoring system for him is better on DraftKings, but still one of the better cheapies on FanDuel at 6.2, and only going to get better if Wiseman's out. I suppose they could maybe not start him, and then his projection will come down a little bit, but just a pretty clear option here. Let's see. I mentioned
Tobias
Butler
and Tucker officially out.
They are? Okay, here we go. I'm going to look here at our what if on those guys, just because it's not, like I said, it's not as relevant on FanDuel. But let's see. Melton will probably pop up a little more as a cheap guard option. Maxey will get a little bit of a bump. We'll talk about Embiid in a second. But yeah, that's going to be probably more of a DraftKings discussion as far as like priority, like guys moving into priority zone. So good to get that news though. So we have plenty of time to act on it for another 32 minutes. So yeah, let's go. Martin was there. Like Grant Williams is there as cheapies at power forward. Eubanks. Yeah, it's Bagley here and then kind of filling in. Center, you can play Bagley here. I like Bam at 8.7. Had a huge game against his team on Saturday for however much stock you put into that. If Muscala's starting, he'd be a pretty decent cheap option. Kind of little risky in my eyes. Probably more relevant on DraftKings. And then probably what the play here is now with the Sixers guys out is just play Embiid. Like, I think when I'm thinking zooming out on FanDuel, I'm thinking Dame is my first spend at when I'm thinking like, expensive guys, Dame, then Embiid. Oh, and one guy I didn't mention, then this is kind of what I was alluding to at the start of the show, is like Jaylen Brown. I like him more on DraftKings just because he's a little cheaper, but it's really crazy how much projections don't like him. And I was looking at the rates and everything like looks in line. And I mean, we have him, last I saw, we had him projected like 37 or 38 minutes. All I know is what the court IQ showed me. And it's not like he shot out of his mind in the sample, but it was like 210 minutes. And he averaged like 1.4 FanDuel points per minute, 1.47 DraftKings points per minute. His usage was like 35%. I'm looking at the 3 games this year that Tatum didn't play, which is all I really care about. I mean, obviously his rebounds are going to go up with the other 2 guys out as well. But I see 23 shot attempts, 23 shot attempts, 25 shot attempts, using DraftKings scoring, I see 45 DraftKings points, 51 DraftKings points, 54 DraftKings points. So, like, I get it why he doesn't project well because, like, it's a difficult matchup. But, I mean, and the whole thing where he played 47 minutes just 24 hours ago because of a double overtime game, which isn't really accounted for in projections, if I'm being honest. So, like, at all, because it's impossible to know how that affects somebody. But I think if you're talking spin ups, you could easily do worse than that. But that's my long-winded way of coming around to, like, saying Dame first, Embiid second, and then probably a small forward like a Butler, Ingram, Jaylen Brown as far as expensive guys. But yeah, probably playing Embiid at center. If not him, probably Bam.
Okay, I have a quick thought about Embiid.
Yeah, go for it. And Miles Turner's in. Whoa. Okay.
Sorry, I missed that. What was it?
Mitchell's in and Miles Turner is in. And James Wiseman is in. Just getting slammed with all these. All right.
Okay, so let's take a second. What does that mean?
That means all that's as projected minus the Sixers stuff that I said.
Okay, gotcha.
And what was your question, Roth?
Yeah, quick thought on the Sixers. Like, the guys who are out are not big usage guys. So are we plugging in guys
for sure not, yeah,
who are higher usage, and thus maybe we're actually taking shots away from Embiid because PJ Tucker's off the floor and Tobias, he doesn't really get his own shot. He'll take it, in spots. Could there be less shots to go around for Embiid because of that?
No, because I mean, it's not gonna move the needle much on Embiid anyways, just because he does so much already.
Yeah.
Like, the Tucker thing is basically like his minutes will get taken away and be given to other reserves. That's not going to really do much. Tobias does have you're in the projection sheets more than me. Maybe the fourth highest usage rate on the team. With that, like, at least for guys who play a lot of minutes. Would that sound right? Yeah. So, like,
it's close between him and Melton, but Tobias is probably slightly ahead.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to matter a little more. But, like, when Ice is doing projections on stuff like that and, like, someone gets ruled out, he's not like, oh, got to give a whole bunch to Embiid. Like, Embiid's already so high that his probably is, like, not going to move much anyways. Just, like, they're going to give the ball to Embiid no matter who the hell's on the floor.
Gotcha.
So it'll move a little. Probably this marginal would be my guess. His projection will go up, but what's really the thing is, like, he's kind of underpriced for his role anyways, and the matchup is really good because the Pacers play pretty fast and they're awful defensively inside. And I guess Turner's playing, but I mean, Embiid's kind of matchup proof anyways. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry.
No, I think you did. You did. Someone pointed out Blake Griffin is starting. I don't know if that's.
We have Muscala, so that's going to move things a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to, like, affect me too much. I would rather play Muscala than Blake Griffin, but, like, they probably kind of just.
They're both starting, actually, for what it's worth.
Oh, they're both starting? Oh, yeah, they got it.
Yeah.
Is Grant Williams in there? I didn't see this come through yet.
No.
Williams is the guy that did not make it.
Definitely untag. Yeah. Okay, definitely untagging him. More of a discussion on DK, but yeah. All right, I'll let Ice take over now.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Ice. Let's kind of walk through a tournament build. Oh, and by the way, Meansy, you didn't give me any love for my Cam Reddish call on Friday.
Yes, I did. I tweeted at you.
Yeah, but I needed it here. I needed it in the moment. I need it live. Come on,
guys,
that shit was good.
Roth had a hell of a Cam Reddish call on Friday.
That shit was good. Okay. With that out of the way, now we can dive into a little tournament build over on FanDuel. Ice.
Yeah, so a lot of the chalk is in these first couple of games here. And it, like I said, it's not very comfortable chalk. Boston has a really tough matchup against Cleveland, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. They play slow. And then the other team is Detroit, that we just really don't know their rotation and who exactly is getting minutes. I will say on the Detroit chalk, Bagley is safe to me. Like, he's been playing really well. They really seem to want to get a look at him. So I'll be overweight on Bagley, but I'll be underweight on everything else pretty much. Wiseman lost some run in the last game. Alec Burks is never a comfortable guy to play. He's a guy we have projected for 27 minutes. He could play 32 minutes. He could play 22 minutes. A lot of volatility with Alec Burks. He's also a guy that just kind of tends to disappear at times. So completely fine going underweight on Alec Burks. Don't mind the ownership on Ivy, so I'll be about even with the field on him. But mainly, I'm trying to push some of this to the back half of the slate. There's not a ton of news that we're waiting on, but there is some. I expect Fox to play for sure, so not really doing anything with that. Valanciunas as well. I'm building with some of the Pelicans wings just because if Valanciunas does get ruled out, they become that much better. But they're already kind of in play, and they're all in that same 5K range as a lot of the chalk in Boston and Detroit. So guys like Trey Murphy at 5,200, Herb Jones at 5,400. Najee Marshall is the one guy who's probably not viable right now, but would be if Valanciunas is out. So I'll just build heavy with Murphy and Jones right now, and then pivot some of that to Najee Marshall if Valanciunas does get ruled out. And then Denver is the situation, I think, with Michael Porter Jr. questionable. And it was a midday downgrade as well. So truly questionable on MPJ. Bruce Brown would really pop. 5,600 here on FanDuel. He's extremely cheap on DraftKings and would be like the best play on the slate or one of them if MPJ gets rolled out. So I'm building with Bruce Brown right now, even though he's not projecting great. Just hoping that I get the news to break my way on MPJ. As far as like big spends, I think Jokic has a pivot off of Embiid is fantastic. Lillard's in a great spot and has just been doing everything. Usage has been like 40% or above without Simons, just insane stuff with what that guy's doing. So not getting too different with the studs. I do like Sabonis as kind of the low-owned stud. The guys before us, Stevie and Dean, were talking about the matchup there, especially if Valanciunas is to sit. Like, there's no one there with the size to slow down Sabonis. So really like that call. I'll be at least double the field on Sabonis.
Okay.
Burks is not starting.
There we go.
Shit.
They went Corey Joseph.
I was just about to say I've got the nuts in this lineup, and now I have to blow it all up. So can we not play Burks if he's not starting? Is that kind of the general consensus?
I mean, you can. He's still really cheap. He's still going to project well, but he's not going to project as well. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it actually kind of makes me like him more for tournaments now, just because the ownership isn't going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. Means your thoughts on Joseph?
I think he should let Burks start.
Say, nah, good. Go ahead.
He's not gonna. They're not gonna play him much, but he's cheap as hell. I don't know, man. Is he like 3K? I'm assuming he's like 3.6 on DK. He's gonna project okay. I can't imagine they're gonna go too heavy on his minutes just because, like, they do have guards. Like, they have obviously Burks, they have Diallo, they have Hampton. Like, I don't think projections guys will get too out of hand with his minutes, but I mean, it's more of like this sucks for Burks unless you're taking Ice's stance, which I completely am in agreement with. But like, he's just not going to project as well, but he's going to still be in play, and that's Burks who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, let's move into a DK build now. We've got most of, or at least what we expected to come down. So let's talk about it. Means
fine. I knew this show was going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Stupid front-loaded news. All right. I like Maxey more than Burks now. I can say that with authority. Now that especially Tobias is out, I definitely like Maxey more. Let's see here. Derek White is a good salary relief option. I like Jaden Ivey. And then Dame would be your spend up here. The only question is he someone you're jamming in like he is on FanDuel? Like, the price is so good on FanDuel. You're obviously jamming him in over there, like I said. But now it's like DraftKings is usually way more about people in your price range, especially because of their guard and forward slots and the util slot. Like, it's so much easier to get guys you want that it's more about people in your price range. So, like, I'm looking at Dame's price range. I see Jokic at 11.8 and I see Embiid at 11.3. And I see some really good cheap guards that I like, but I don't necessarily see that at center. So, like, I would go Embiid, Dame, Jokic if I'm like talking about priorities of expensive guys.
What about Muscala? You mentioned you didn't like cheap centers. Is Muscala a starting at, what is he, 3K or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's in play. I mean, that would be one of those things where I put in Embiid first, and then I decide if I want to put Muscala in the util. Because, like,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's not like I got to get Muscala in.
Okay.
But I mean, you're going to feel great about Muscala, or you're going to feel awful about him. Because if he knocks down his threes tonight, he's going to probably get like 25 DraftKings points or something. And you're going to like, all right, yeah, I got Muscala.
That was such an obvious play. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he misses them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They're going to play someone else. And I don't know. So you can consider him, but I definitely like the and again, it's not apples to apples because the guards I'm talking about are not 3-3, like they're like 4 or 5K. So not exactly.
Alec Burks is starting now. The Pistons just updated their lineup.
Have they done that like a handful of times the past week or two? Am I making that up? Were you on when they did that? Yes. I feel like you were on. I feel like you were.
So now, who did we think was starting? That is
Joseph got the boot. They were watching the show.
Joseph was watching, and he said, "Never mind."
Yeah, he said I shouldn't start. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, Burks is 4-1. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that had to be what happened. All right, so Burks is back in. All right. So now my guard discussion is a little easier because I like Maxey, I like Burks. So there's your point guard, shooting guard. I like Ivy, I like Derek White. Those are your fill-ins for, the guard spot or the util spot. And then I like Dame as a spin up, and Jaylen Brown has shooting guard eligibility. So we can use that as a transition over to small forward, which he has small forward being Jaylen. I don't know if I'm not going to refresh that on my computer slow down. I'm guessing our Grant Williams projection will come down a little bit. We have him at 31 minutes. That's probably going to move down to like upper 20s would be my guess. So now's where we're talking about, like, he's still going to be in play, but now's where we're talking about similar discussion we had over on FanDuel, just like a what's the word? I'll just call it a bunch of, group of cheap small forwards where you have like Murphy at 4-4, Reddish at 4-3, Caleb Martin at 4-3. I mean, if you want to get a little off the map, you can go down to like Noora or Najee Marshall or something like that. I don't know if I mentioned Tybal, he's 4-2. Like a bunch of guys right there, which is another reason, like, I kind of just want to play Jaylen Brown. Like, there's all sorts of risk. I get it, but I don't like anything here. So why would I not just play the guy who's playing without Jason freaking Tatum? Like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we make this a little too difficult and like just whatever the numbers say we got to do it. And if this game gets out of hand, which I wrote about on Scores and Odds this morning, like, I think Cleveland is the side to take. I said that at 3.5, not at 7 or whatever. But like, I don't know. I'm going to stop ranting about it. I like playing Jaylen Brown.
That's been my rule forever. If a team has 2 superstars and one of them is out, you play the other superstar. Like, that's the rule. You just do it. Right?
And they have their 2 other best big men out.
Yeah.
So like
that rarely goes
he's
wrong.
got to rebound some too. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? Like, I'll sound like an idiot or I'll sound somewhat smart. But yeah, I think you're playing one of those cheapies, or you're playing the Butler, Jaylen Brown, Brandon Ingram trio. That exact same conversation that we had on FanDuel. So let's go to power forward, where it's like very, very obviously Bagley. So then you're talking about what are we doing otherwise? So fringy stuff, if you even want to go here. The Celtics guys with Grant Williams or Blake Griffin, like, I suppose. Caleb Martin has the power forward eligibility. Noora has power forward eligibility. You have like Keegan Murray maybe, but like for me, play Bagley at power forward. We'll talk about center. Then like, I'm not playing any of these dudes unless I have to, like, as a very, very last piece. So then you go to center, and we have Embiid. We have Muscala. Wiseman maybe, now that he's for sure in. I think that's about it, but it's like basically Embiid and Muscala. I'm gonna refresh when Ice is talking and see like what these Celtics projections look like on our refresh.
Okay. Quick question: can I play Collins? He's down to 4K. Like I don't know what his injury situation, minutes situation is.
Who are you talking about?
John Collins?
He's 4K?
Yeah. I'm pretty
Did
sure
we
he's
lose
4K.
Ice?
I think we lost Ice, but I'm pretty sure I saw that and it just kind
What
of
in the hell's going on with John Collins? How did he get down to 4K?
Right. I might be making this up. I tend to do that.
No,
sometimes.
he's 4K.
Okay.
He is.
Yeah.
I'm stupefied that he is that cheap. But I guess like they got Bay at the trade deadline and everything. So I mean, I would not play him just based on the fact that he's 4K for a reason. Like this guy used to be like 6'8". And obviously like the minutes.
Yeah, I just saw that number and was like, I got to do it.
I have a feeling I'm gonna have to talk about tournaments.
You can start. I feel like Ice is gonna come back in at some point, but let's talk tournaments. Like, how owned is Jaylen Brown? Is that a strong tournament play right there?
Ice is back.
Oh, saved by the bell. Ice, just in time, man. Welcome back. We're talking tournaments.
All right, sorry about that. Wi-Fi cut out on me there. Yeah, not a lot different here from how I'm playing it over on FanDuel. I do think there's some cheap stuff that's interesting, that's more in play on DK than it is on FanDuel. But we can just go through it position by position.
Mm-hmm.
Starting at point guard here. Let's see here. De'Aaron Fox is questionable all day long. Like, I like this game environment, Sacramento, New Orleans. I'll have a little bit of Fox. He's very low owned. CJ McCollum, another one that's not getting a ton of ownership. Like, a lot of people are paying up for Lillard and Harden. So these guys below them in like the 8 and 9K range are going really overlooked today. Jamal Murray, another guy you can put in that conversation. Fred VanVleet, like all of those guys in the, like this 8K range have big time upside and really good looking ownership today. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. A couple shooting guards. Marcus Smart is another one. Like I like Marcus Smart. Like finding the extra money to get up to Marcus Smart and fading Derek White, I think, is a viable strategy. Diallo as a pivot off of Alec Burks is very intriguing. DeAnthony Melton at 4,500 should see plenty of extra run today. Game gets out of hand. I think Melton continues to stay on the court and see that run. So whereas guys like Harden and Embiid might lose some minutes, Melton should still see his full run of 30 plus minutes in this spot, as shorthanded as they are. So I really like Melton. I mentioned the Pelicans wings, Murphy and Herb Jones, even Najee Marshall if Valanciunas ends up getting ruled out. Nwora is very interesting as a guy who should play a ton of minutes. 3,800. He can certainly pay that off. I think he's another guy who would see plenty of run even if this game gets out of hand. There seems like a guy they're really trying to evaluate. So Nwora at 3,800, want to be overweight on that. This Grant Williams not starting thing is really interesting as well. I think his ownership number comes down considerably. I wouldn't be surprised if he still plays upper 20s minutes off the bench. So I think you can certainly still play Grant Williams. Matisse Thybulle is a guy who's been playing pretty well for Portland. I mean, talk about matchups. They don't get a lot better than Detroit. So I certainly think you can play some Thybulle. Bruce Brown is a guy that I have a ton of exposure to, assuming that Michael Porter Jr. ends up getting ruled out. He becomes one of the top plays on the slate. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of roster spots reserved for him. I think he's very much in play at 3,900 anyway, even if MPJ does play. So totally fine going way overweight on Bruce Brown right now. We'll try to get even more if MPJ does in fact get ruled out. Let's see here. Jeremy Grant is an interesting play for Portland with Simons being out. There's plenty of usage to go around. Nurkic as well. Should help him in the rebounding department. Aaron Gordon, another guy that could benefit from MPJ sitting. Certainly don't mind his price at 6K. Let's see here. Moving it on to some centers. Love paying up for Jokic and Embiid. Not scared of the ownership number on either one of those guys. I mentioned Sabonis already as well. And Bagley as a guy that I definitely want to be overweight on, feel very comfortable about his minutes and his production here recently. Jakob Poeltl at 6,400 is really interesting. Like he's a guy that we've seen get over 30 minutes with Toronto here, and he's absolutely
50s.
smashed. Yeah.
Yeah. He puts
not a great
50 plus
matchup.
fantasy points up.
Yeah, tough matchup, tough spot, obviously, against Jokic. But if he's going to be out there for 32 minutes because they need his size against Jokic, he can certainly pay off 6,400. Drew Eubanks also at 4,100. Like, I don't know. He has not been producing. We saw him in this spot a couple of times last year, and he really produced. He hasn't quite done that so far this year, but he's 4,100. Gets a matchup at Detroit. Don't mind him as a pivot off of like a Wiseman or Bagley. I think that about covers it.
Okay, very good. We have 8-9 minutes here until lock. Gonna get into some QQs. For some reason, usually I take them from the Discord first. My Discord isn't opening, so we've got producer Steve updating it. He might pull in some questions, but in the meantime, I will pull them from the YouTube chat, and we'll try to get over to the RG Discord as well. So let's dive in. Anthony says, Ingram or Jaylen Brown? Ice, I'm going to give that to you.
I like them both a lot today. The ownership is just not high enough on Jaylen Brown. I know it's a tough matchup, but he should do pretty much everything. Like either Brown or somebody like Derek White is going to absolutely smash in this spot despite the matchup. So Brown first. Okay,
excellent. And we've got a little workaround for the YouTube, so I'll start taking questions from there as well, from the Discord rather. In the meantime, Darren says Fanduel Cash, Blake and Butler or Herb Jones and Grant. And I guess the question comes down to, can you play Blake?
Yeah, I like Grant. I always like Grant, man. So I would do the Grant one. Like FanDuel finally priced him above 7K because he was just like hanging around in like 6'4", 6'6" for like ever. Mm-hmm. And he always just gets you like 35 FanDuel points, which is awesome. But I mean, Simons is out, Nurk is out. Price a little more appropriate, but of the two, I like the Grant one.
Okay. Ice, quick question on the big men there. Can you play like how much Blake and how much, who's the other big guy? Muscala.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about Muscala, just usage-wise, minutes-wise. Blake might start and play like 14 minutes. Yeah. Muscala, I'm pretty comfortable will be out there for 20+. So I would lean Muscala over Blake, but you can certainly play them both. Blake at 3K can certainly smash even in 18, 20 minutes. So both in play.
But he's probably only getting like, I don't want to say probably, but there's a decent chance he just gets the one like half shift at the start of each half, not even a full shift.
That is very much a possibility, and it's happened this year. We have also seen where he's played like 26 minutes. So I'm pulling up the game. Yeah, 24 minutes. He had 36 DK points against Milwaukee, and 28 minutes against Detroit. He had 20 DK points. So they have given him a little bit of run here in recent past.
I got a little bit of him. I got a little smidge. What about Bam? Nobody talked about Bam, I don't think. Ice.
Oh yeah, love Bam today. 82. He's just cheap. Like the matchup against Atlanta, Capella blocks shots, but he's not really that great of a post defender. So Bam should have a great game.
Okay. I'll call this a GPP question. Doesn't specify site, but McDaniels, Harden, or Fox and Martin.
Give me Fox and Martin.
Okay.
I like Fox. Nobody's playing him with the Q tag all day.
Yeah. All right. Jumping on over to the YouTube here, and we'll go to Phil Q, Cam Reddish, or Brogdon. I'll give that one to you. I don't know.
Yeah. If you have I'm pretty sure. Oh no, they're kind of similar price on one of the sites. I would go Brogdon.
Very good. DeBoss says FanDuel GPP Ice. Any interest in Jaden McDaniel?
What's his price there? I mean, with being shorthanded, I could see him getting a little bit of extra run. 4K on FanDuel. Yeah, I mean he's cheap. Not something I'm doing, but I see what you're trying to do there. Like just uncertainty with Tucker and Tobias both out. There are big minutes available.
Okay. DKGPP, Van Vliet, Murray, or both with Joker?
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely fine with all three of them. Murray and Jokic together doesn't scare me. Yeah. If I had to pick, I'd go Van Vliet and Jokic and leave Murray out, but I think you can play all three together for sure.
I mean, he and Jokic have like the two-man game where sometimes it's like they're the only two guys on the court. And they fill it up.
Yep.
Yeah. DK Cash means I've got 4-4 left at the util, and I've got Murphy. But what are your thoughts on Keegan Murray? He's been playing extremely well. He had one bad game, or like Murray over Murphy if behind in cash, assuming that Murphy's going to be really chalky.
You and Arlo should be thankful that I read that myself. So I was prepared for the answer because it was a little dicey.
Yeah.
I get it, and I'm not doing that. I'm not playing cash. I'm just playing tournaments. So it's easier for me to answer this question. I'm playing Jaylen Brown small forward, so I don't have to deal with that crap. I get it. And if nothing else, I mean, yeah, I guess they're in the same game. I was going to say it leaves you news, but they're in the same game. It sounds like just trying to walk through the rest of it, like with the switching and being behind in cash. Yeah, maybe just start with Murray, like he was kind of alluding to. Start with Murray, and if you're, all your early players do well, just play Murphy. I'm sorry, and then if you're behind, then switch to Murray, which will probably gain you some points if it works out in your favor, and if not, you're going to lose anyway. So yeah, I like his stance. Yeah,
that's a smart, that's good gamesmanship.
He's always thinking like that.
Yeah, very good. DK Cash means right back at you. Lillard, Muscala, or Ivy Brown from AJ?
I mean, the smart thing to do is to play Lillard and Muscala. I would play Brown and Ivy.
You're crazy.
I'm just going down. I'm going down with the Jaylen Brown chip. I'm attaching my wagon to the guy who played 47 minutes 24 hours ago. This is going to go great.
Oh, man. All right. FanDuel Cash, here we go again. Means Brown and Diallo or Sabonis and Murphy.
I would do the Sabonis. That's way easier on FanDuel because Sabonis is underpriced. Brown's a little more appropriately priced, so I would for sure do I would do the Sabonis one on that one too.
Very good. Michael Dixon in the YouTube chat just pointed out, by the way, less than 2 minutes until lock, says people are sleeping on Trae Young and Murray. Nobody's playing either of them, right?
Correct that nobody's playing them. Tough matchup against Miami, slow-paced team. But yeah, I mean, obviously they have the upside to smash.
All right. Any love for Hernan Gomez? Anyone?
I've got a little, unfortunately, just in case Jovel sits. I'll try to pivot out of that if Valanciunas does get ruled in, but I'm kind of pot committed trying to chase that at this point. It has not worked out well the last couple of times, but he's cheap. He can smash in a hurry. So I've got to sprinkle.
I love that you're sticking with it. That's you just ride it until the end of the season. Hope it hits. DK Cash last piece means Ivy or my new favorite player in the league, Derek White.
I actually think Ivy is a little safer, believe it or not.
Okay. I think Derek White is the greatest piece on a championship team I've ever seen. He plays D, he hustles, he can score. He's just like the perfect piece to an already good team. Like
someone last year at the trade deadline had a really good tweet about that being the best acquisition at the trade deadline, that the Celtics got Derek White. I don't remember who it was. I'd have to go do the advanced search.
Was it you?
I maybe. I can't recall. Yeah.
He's such a good piece on a good team. Like he's freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, he's like Jalen Brunson.
He just does literally everything. Yeah, he's like, well, let's not get crazy. DK Cash, if Hernan Gomez is starting, do you like him over Murphy? Good question. Yes, right? He's starting?
In cat, yeah, but I'm for sure not building with that in. You can, but then again, you can I don't know who asked, but there's plenty of other options in that range that you can switch to. So don't build with it, sure, because it's DK, you have the util spot, but don't plan on it happening, I guess is the best way to put it. That's what I would be doing. But yeah, he's going to be fine either way because you have swaptions.
Okay. Swaptions. Way to bring it back. That's a callback. Swaptions. Adam says, hey, are we completely done with Wiseman? I don't think so. We're not, are we?
I'm not completely done. He's certainly in play, but he just didn't get the run in the last game. Bagley's been outperforming him. So I definitely prefer Bagley, even despite the ownership difference. Yeah, I mean, that's just where I'm at.
He's gotten put in a body Bagley.
Oh, God. Jesus. And with that, hit that thumbs up. Yeah, make sure you hit that thumbs up on YouTube.
I just got a bunch of thumbs down.
Yeah. As Dean always says, end on a high note. And
sorry, not happening here.
Nope. We're ending on the lowest note of the night, but I approve of it. We're going to bounce on out of here, guys. I hope you enjoy these shows. Really think there's a ton of great content, so appreciate you guys watching. Please do hit that thumbs up on YouTube. It's a free show. It will stay free so long as we're getting a lot of eyeballs, and those thumbs up help us get the eyeballs. So for Meansy, for Ice, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.